dress in historical clothes every day, dressing up in order to improve your manners, and the mess of modern power dressing. Welcome to 3 more current events articles on the subject of dress. Welcome back to the Daily Connoisseur. My name's Jennifer and I am the author of the Madame Chic series, and I love to discuss looking presentable always and the 10-item wardrobe. I also think that what we wear matters, and so through my YouTube channel I like to convey that, and I love discussing these current events articles on dress. So my last video, if you haven't seen that one, was great. It talked about the woman that got kicked out of the Golden Corral for wearing a crop top. It talked about a bridesmaid sharing a bride's wedding dress on Facebook and the etiquette behind that. And it also discussed how hospital patients are urged to dress up to get out of pajama paralysis. So that's a great video. If you haven't seen that one, I will link it below. Before we get into today's topics, today's video is sponsored by Skillshare. They are one of the great sponsors here on the Daily Connoisseur. Skillshare is an online learning platform with over 25,000 classes. You can learn a skill from anything from creative endeavors like writing, photography, calligraphy, painting, business and entrepreneurial skills. They have so many classes. Over 7 million people use Skillshare, and premium membership is very affordable at under $10 a month. I have a link below that gives you 2 free months of Skillshare Premium. So thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so let's get right into the articles. So a few of my readers sent me this article, and this is from The Guardian, and it says, "I don't see jeans in my future. The people who wear complete historical dress every day." So how fascinating is this? It says, from the man who wears 17th century clothes to the woman whose outfits are straight out of the 1950s, 6 people explain their deep devotion to period dress. Now, this is quite interesting because I feel like the first person that I knew, the first modern person that I knew of that did this was Tasha Tudor. And remember how I said I was so confused as a child reading Victoria magazine and seeing Tasha Tudor in period clothing. I couldn't figure out, I didn't know why the photographs were modern, yet she wasn't. And so she was really, I feel, the first modern person to do this on a full-time basis. I mean, she wore historical clothing, period clothing on a full-time basis, but now it is becoming more popular. So this article from The Guardian is very interesting, and it highlights a few different people. Most of the people that it highlights like to dress in either 40s, 50s way, which I feel would be easier to do because at least those clothes are similar to what we kind of wear today. You know, if you saw somebody walking down the street in, you know, a poodle skirt and a cardigan, you wouldn't think too much of it. If you saw somebody walking down the street, however, in Regency attire, you might think that they were, you know, an escaped extra from a Jane Austen movie or something. Okay, so let's meet this man. His name is Zack McLeod Pinsett, and he likes to dress in the Regency period. He's only 25 years old. He says, "I've been dressing alternatively since I was 14 because modern fashion has never appealed to me. I wanted to look back to a time when things were of a higher quality and wear clothes that would make me stand out. I began wearing late Victorian and Edwardian stuff bought in vintage shops in Brighton, and it made me genuinely happy. I got into the Regency look because I was invited to a Regency ball in London and had nothing to wear. I tried to make something myself but realized it was terrible since I couldn't find the right fabrics, so I decided to research the history and develop my own skills." So he is very bold, and he wears Regency clothing on a daily basis. I don't think I could do that, although I have to say, if you know me for any short period of time, you know that I love the Victorian era. I'm completely obsessed with it. I always have been ever since I was a child. And there's nods to that in what I like to wear today. So I think that I modernize it a little bit more. I just love that look and that style. You know, Sherlock Holmes. I love what people used to wear back then. So maybe if I were a bit more bold and gutsy, I would just dress like a Victorian woman every day. Minus the corset. I would not like to wear a corset. So I wanted to call your attention to a YouTube channel that I recently discovered called Crow's Eye Productions. And my children and I have been watching these videos, and they are fascinating. It shows you how people got dressed in different periods in history. So, you know, they have a Renaissance, they have Victorian, they have for men and women. And this is a great resource. You should watch it with your children because it's fascinating and it's history and you learn so much. But the thing that just strikes me is how people dressed like this for so long. They really took care into how they presented themselves, and, you know, getting dressed every day was an event, right? And then I don't know what happened, but now in modern times, it's just the exact opposite of that. People kind of roll out of bed and sometimes they don't even change. But I really do feel like we don't take pride in our appearance anymore. And they used to do that back then. So what I find fascinating is how the dress was so similar for such a long period of time. And then in this past century, it was just so radically different, and it's changed so much. Of course, many things for the better, but some things for the worse too. I feel like we've become very sloppy as a society. And so I think it's pretty neat that these people dress in a period way. So this woman called Nora, she's 32, she dresses in a 1940s style. This man, Joel, is 44, he dresses in a 1930s style. I think it's wonderful. And I'm sure that they have a lot of conversation starters. But I think to introverts like me and many of you who don't like drawing attention to ourselves that much, I would be too self-conscious to walk down the street in period garb. But I think that there's something wonderful about taking aspects of your favorite period in history and incorporating that into your modern dress sense. That gives me a video idea. Maybe I should do a video on that. Okay, next. This was also sent to me from a reader, and this is from the Telegraph. So Emily R. shared this with me. It says, "To solve Britain's rudeness epidemic, we need to start dressing well," by Celia Walden. Now, first of all, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm not saying that Britain has a rudeness epidemic. I'm just reading the article, okay? So let's see what this author has to say. "Every summer, something curious happens to the men inside Ascot's royal enclosure. Doors and gates are held open for women, hands extended to help us down the stairs, and top hats doffed in our direction, as though, for that 1 week a year, young British men have decided to play at being chivalrous vintage gents, before leaving the manners and morning suits in a rumpled pile on the floor at the end of the day. Last Friday it hit me. They're playing that part because they're dressed for it." So she states in her article that dress and manners are directly correlated. And so when people are dressed nicely, their manners naturally improve. And as people are dressed more casually, their manners become more lax. And I would definitely agree with that assessment as well. This is why I'm constantly saying what we wear matters. There are 3 different types of people. People who agree with me that what we wear actually matters. People who really don't have an opinion either way yet. They haven't really thought about it. And then the people who are ardently against this, and they really don't think it matters at all what we wear. And I do encounter these people on a regular basis on my YouTube channel. But all I can do is just state my perspective and my point. But it's true that what we wear affects how we feel, how we behave, how we live. And that's why I'm always urging, people, get out of the yoga pants, get out of the pajamas, put some regular clothes on to help yourself feel better and to just really improve your overall life. Look presentable always, right? So she's saying that the men suddenly become extremely conscious of manners when they are dressed well for the Ascot royal enclosure. So I was thinking about this also with the article on historical dress. I used to be a theater actress, and I remember one of the first plays I did was The Rivals by Richard Brinsley Sheridan, and it was a restoration comedy, and we got into the full dress for that, and the costumes were so beautiful. So as an actress, you're doing the rehearsals for weeks in your regular clothes, right? You just do the rehearsals. Then suddenly it's the dress rehearsal and you put on your costume. Something changes when you put your costume on, right? There's something different about wearing a restoration period dress to wearing jeans and Birkenstocks, which is what I used to wear when I was in high school every day. So there's something about that. Your posture improves, the way you enunciate improves, and everything. So I think she's absolutely right. So what do you think? Do you think manners are directly correlated to dress? I would love to hear from you down below. Okay, and the last article that I found was from the New York Times, and it's called "The Mess of Modern Power Dressing." It says, "The dress codes of influence and authority are one big mass of confusion. Just look at the Oscars and Congress, at Goldman Sachs and the recent runways. But is that a bad thing?" So the article discusses power dressing and how it is changing. And we know with business casual that has kind of infiltrated everything. All rules for dressing are really out the window right now. I know Goldman Sachs recently reviewed their dress code and they made it more lax. And that's what this article is referring to. So it says, in an email exchange trying to hash this all out, Richard Ford, a professor at Stanford Law School who is working on a book on dress codes, wrote, "There is a lot to like in the demise of an overly stringent dress codes and such, but it's also true that the old uniform of business suit had a certain democratizing power. Everyone from world leaders to file clerks wore a suit, and eventually as the workforce became integrated, there were standard feminine versions as well, a safe bet for women who wanted to command respect. But maybe instead of wanting a neat and easy new look, we should be celebrating the confusion and what it signifies, a pivot point, an expression of the reality that diversity of all kinds, thought, aesthetic, and opinion is on the rise, and that the uniform is no longer an object of desire, an acknowledgement that there are many different kinds of power and ways to design for them." It's true that what we deem as power dressing is totally changing. We used to think of the power suit, both for men and women, but this is all shifting and changing. And you look at, CEOs like Mark Zuckerberg, who wears the hoodie and the t-shirt every day, and he's talked about why he wears the same uniform of sorts every day, but it's a very casual one. What we think of as powerful is also changing. I think that what Mr. Ford said here, it's also true that the old uniform of a business suit had a certain democratizing power. I think that he's right about that. And I love suits. I love suits. I love dressing for authority, and one of my Instagram followers sent me a meme recently. It said something like dress like you're the CEO, not like you want a job from the CEO. And I do believe that. I think you should dress for the part. I love to encourage mothers to dress well every single day because the calling of motherhood and being a homemaker is very worthy and important. And so we should dress as such. And thankfully, we don't have to wear power suits at home. We could wear whatever we want. We could wear Regency era attire if that's what makes us happy. But the idea of putting thought and expressing our true style through our clothes is a very important one. I think the concept of a dress code is fascinating. So that's giving me another video idea that maybe we could do another time. All right, that is it for our 3 articles on dress today. I would love to hear from you down below. Be sure to share your thoughts, and your comment could be picked as comment of the week on my blog. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to click on the link below for 2 free months of Skillshare Premium. And thanks for joining me today on The Daily Connoisseur. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!